Howdy doody everybody, today's video we are talking about Tales of Arise and we've got our resident Tales of Arise expert here, Arix.
What's up? How's it going?
He's going to be talking us through a gameplay demo that he got to kind of experience recently thanks to Bandai Namco, and he knows more about this game than I do, but I am interested in this one because this one actually looks a lot better than all the Tales of Arise stuff that I've seen before. So we're going to press play on this demo and we're going to jump straight into the gameplay section. Firstly, I want to say that this game, beautiful.
Yeah, it looks nice, right?
Gorgeous. They've gone for that cell shaded style, and
off we go.
It looks kind of like an impressionist paint style as well at the same time. I don't know what they've done. It just looks sick.
It looks super nice. Like, it's almost got that kind of watercolory feel to it as well. But like, yeah, when you look at like the expansive sort of environment stuff, ooh, and that's, I mean, then this is just walking around. Like when you get in motion in the combat stuff, ooh, it looks so clean. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
So who is this dude?
So this is Alphen. He is one of the main characters, the box guy. You'll typically see him side by side with Xion, who is the lady from the opposing world, so to speak, in the story, and she's the one with the gun. But basically, this demo. So obviously, at the beginning, there was a sort of menu scene where this is like a short demo. If you just golden line it, you're talking like half an hour, and there's 6 different characters you can mess around with. So Alphen, Xion. There is Rinwell, who is the mage. There is.
If I go back to the beginning, we can see that because I know that they were going through on the menu. So we can go back here, and people can see. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, so here we go. So yeah, so we've got Alphen, we've got Xion, we have Rinwell, who is the mage, we have Law, who is like the martial artists. They don't hover over on the menu, but the last 2 are Kisara, who is the one with the shield, and you've then got Dorhalim, I believe is his name, with the bow staff as well. So they're like the characters you get to test out in the demo. You have one that you control yourself, and then when you're in battle, you have 3 additional people that will basically join you, back you up, and then effectively you can have a couple more in support. So Tales of, like, normally when you're in combat you have like your party of 4, but it's quite cool that you can effectively call on like 2 more as well if you want some support abilities.
Nice. So how did the combat actually feel when you were actually playing it? The hits, just the X button, just the one hit, how did that feel? Did it feel like...
Even that felt really good. You definitely feel like the combination of like the feel of the controller and the sound. You definitely feel the hits. Like there's some decent weight to them, which is nice. You know, sometimes in these games it feels like you're kind of cutting through paper. You definitely do feel the hits in this one. So I think you'll like the kind of meaty feel to combat.
Yeah.
And combat flow, like so you have your typical basic attack just on X, or not actually on X, on Xbox buttons are confusing me. The one that whatever. One of the buttons. Sorry, RB. That's it. RB. I'm getting them all confused. But yeah, you have your standard just combo, which is just like RB, 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 which you use to sort of fill gaps. Then in the bottom right corner, you have your arts, which are like your special moves. The thing we saw on screen just now is a different one. That's a burst strike. But your arts are just like your regular specials. And these are grouped into 2 categories. You have your like grounded arts, and you have your aerial arts. So then you'll see that menu dynamically change as you sort of launch and juggle things, basically.
That sounds awesome. So you're saying that the core RB basic combo feels like great, right? Because I feel if a game has got that basic attack to feel good, that the rest of the combat's going to feel good around it, because that's the one that you commonly use most of the time. And there's a lot of games out there where even a basic attacks, as you said, just feels like it's cutting through like paper sometimes and doesn't really feel all that like tangible and engrossing. I'm glad to know that that works in this. And does it feel that way for just Alphen or for the other characters?
So I only played as Kisara and I played as Law, but yeah, it definitely feels like that for them. They've obviously got different, Alphen's obviously got the swords, so you got the impact from that. There's definitely, so I haven't necessarily tried to like a sword user versus like a gun user, but I would definitely say that it just feels like it's probably one of those things where it's the combination. Like some games have got like mega weight, like you can feel like you pick up like a sword in Dark Souls and it's like moves slowly and you're like, okay, I can feel this. It's obviously still got the fast-paced anime combat to it, but that paired with like the sound, it definitely feels really good to hit. And then like Law, of course, you're like more like melee combat. So they all feel unique in their own way. But what's nice is just like how seamlessly it links with all your arts, right? Like you think about specials in some games, it's like, oh, you work up to using it and it feels quite disjointed. But this is effectively like a combo system, right? You'll seamlessly go from like regular basic attacks, quickly throw an art in, juggle an enemy up into the sky, you're already launching, and you know, even before when I didn't know all the different arts or the combos, it was very easy for me to pull off, like, you know how they shared before some of those cool juggling clips? I was like, well, you must be like some pro player to do that. I was getting my own decent juggle without even really knowing the combat system, so I feel like it's, yeah, it flows really nicely.
Nice. I saw some like madness going on there and them swapping out arts, so you can swap out the arts freely?
In the combat, yes, yeah. So in kind of typical Tales of fashion, like as your character levels up, as you progress, you'll unlock arts. Sometimes you'll unlock them like mid combo. So yeah, you can swap out like moves in the middle of combat. Honestly, it's been a while since I played Tales of, so I couldn't actually remember if that was something we could do in the past. It's been a while since I played Vesperia, but yeah, you can swap some of them out mid combat, which is of course really cool. And you know, some of them like proc differently as well. Like take someone like Kasara, who is the shield character. Most characters in combat can dodge, and they can like dodge and evade things. She has her dodge replaced with like a parry sort of shield attack, but then off the back of some of her guards, she can go straight. Yeah, exactly, right? But off the back of some of her guards, she can actually go straight into an art. So you actually use them to like power yourself up by parrying, and then you go into attack. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of cool styles in there.
Did they kind of explain like the base story in this before you got started, or did they just throw you straight into like the demo? Do you know what the story is, or you don't have any clue?
So I do. I won't name the names because I can't remember the names. But basically, there's sort of two different warring, two different sort of races, so to speak. You've got one that is like living in the sky, which is where Shion comes from, and one that sort of is down on the ground that are then basically being like imprisoned and used as like workers and stuff. So Alphen comes from there, and he's trying to sort of fight back and push back against the people above, and then Shion sort of doesn't feel right about what's going on and is trying to sort of help out, that kind of thing. So there's that sort of power balance between the higher ups and the lower downs. I've done a really bad job of explaining that specifically, but it's basically like they're two people that are effectively opposites that have come together.
No, you explained it better than if you just use the names, because sometimes people are explaining stuff and they just use the names of the factions, and you don't even know what the names of the factions are yet. So I kind of get the basic concept of like what the story is as well. From that. So what's this?
And then the different characters.
Yeah. What is this break mechanic that I see happening on the screen?
So yeah, when you're fighting characters, you have that sort of like diamond that's building up in the middle, and that is basically your boost break. So when you activate that, you go into one of these which is called a boost strike, which sees two characters pair together, and they perform like an ultimate move, which on like trash mobs will normally wipe them out. On bosses, it will just do big damage. In the demo, there's 3 available, but in the full game there'll be more. So you've got one between Alphen and Shion, one between Rinwell and Law, and one between Kasara and Dohalim. So they all look really cool. In fact, like later on in the gameplay, you'll see the one with Kasara, because it's just like super cool when it's activated. But yeah, that's one way to sort of work up to it, because we've always had like powerful moves, cool moves in like Tales of games before, but this is like their way of doing it now with these characters that kind of work together. And it's nice again because it means that your team comp is effectively larger than the 4 that you have in active combat, because you can still do a burst break with you know, some of your support characters as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you walk around like this map and stuff and explore and see?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, so yeah, I went kind of pretty broad. Like one of the guys you see up there at the top by the tree, he's like a little vendor. You can buy stuff from him. There's of course like chests here. It's important to note that like if Tales of is like your first Tales game, it's more like you would kind of describe it more like wide linear. So there is scope to explore, but it's not like, I wouldn't call it an open world game. But you definitely do want to go off the beaten track. I went behind a waterfall. I found a chest that's got like a weapon in it, so I kind of did that. So I definitely say whenever you go to the areas, it's probably quite good in that respect, because you can explore, but you don't have like, you're not going to get lost for like hours because it's not that open. But I feel like it's got kind of like got a good balance with it.
Noise. Can you run out the circle now, or is it you're still within like a circle area during fights?
Oh no! You're still within the arena. Sorry, yeah. You can obviously, if you were to like activate run from an encounter during the battle, then your character will be out. But yeah, no, you're still bound. Like, so to anyone that hasn't sort of played Tales of games before, when you encounter those enemies, although you might not see it, you are basically in like a invisible arena. But it's like it's done in a good way. Like it never feels like I never actively ran into an invisible wall. Basically, you see what I mean? So while it is there, I don't feel like it's sort of in your face, like, oh no, I can't go. This is the one. Yeah.
She's got a big chop.
Put like a big crystal on her shield and was just like, doosh.
Doosh. So when it comes to like calling in your teammates and just doing like passive attacks with your teammates, like how do you do that? Ones that are not burst breaks and stuff.
So basically, what happened is that, like in typical Tales of fashion, like when you make your team comp, in the menus, you will basically control like how those other teammates will react. Like for example, in like previous games, it's been like, oh, you know, I've got like a caster, I want them to prioritize like healing first and like staying back and like, you know, looking after the team first. So you can sort of set like prioritizations for like how they will work in combat. But then what you'll also do in combat is that anytime you go, on the left side of the screen, you've got the D-pad, basically, and you'll see their little meter charge up. So at any point, you can just tap a direction on the D-pad, and it'll basically do their special move. So not the burst break, but like they'll also have a special move that you can use. So that's effectively how you can like actively call them in and be like, yo, I need some help, kind of thing. So yeah, kind of at the drop of a hat, you could seamlessly be like in the middle of a combo, finish your combo, drop an enemy down, press left on the D-pad, suddenly Shion will come in and fire like her sniper rifle or something. And assuming you've got them, you can stack them all up. You could be like left, right, and then like a couple of characters, almost sort of like Dragon Ball Fighters, where you like simultaneously bring people in to pull off their supers.
Yep.
So that feels really cool.
So how do you feel like this game like compares to the other like Tales game? Is this a good one for me to like pick up and like actually play as someone that more plays like Final Fantasy and other like RPGs?
I do feel like, yeah, I mean, obviously it's difficult to sort of say too early on because I've literally only played for like an hour, so I can't sort of talk to, you know, the breadth of the story and things like that. But I will say that I feel this is, if you've never played a Tales of game before, I feel like this is going to be a great entry point just from like my initial hands-on, just because it's got the kind of traditional Tales of DNA in the way that, you know, combat works, in the way that you sort of interact with characters, a lot of that sort of like fun stuff, but it's definitely got a very sort of modern twist on it because, you know, if you've been with the series for like a long time, like I love Tales of games anyway, but it's one of those sort of things that maybe if you haven't played them, there might be certain elements that maybe don't necessarily click with you. I think things like Symphonia and Vesperia still hold up super strong, but this sort of new visual style paired with like the really, really kind of fluid combat system. Like Symphonia and Vesperia had like fantastic combat, but this just feels super fluid, very easy to kind of like get like that instant gratification sort of feedback. And yeah, I just think I think it's like they've done a really good job of bringing Tales up to the kind of modern era. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that maybe sort of might stand out to you. So, you know, just to kind of be like marginally critical. If you play Tales games before, you're not going to mind it, but a lot of cutscenes, like big monumental story cutscenes, will be voiced. But then when you've got the kind of in-between character interactions, you're going to be reading like text on screen.
Yeah, that's the thing that like really stood out to me as we like started watching the gameplay. Is that they're not voiced. I would like for them to be voiced because it kind of takes out the immersion almost. Like I felt like I don't mind reading. Like I used to read when it was like Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy like 8, but it just feels like games have moved on from there almost, and like having them kind of semi-voiced and not voiced is kind of disjointing in a way. So it's interesting to see that as well. Do you know if like swapping out the weapons also changes like the aesthetics of the weapon that the characters actually? Okay.
Yeah,
well, this has basically answered it just then because they just popped it up on screen. But yeah.
No, yeah, that's the waterfall that I went behind to get a secret thing, but I don't think they're going to run there. But yeah, weapon changes, because that's one of the cool things in Tales of, like, later on in the game, you get some, like, really, really cool looking weapons. I feel like Tales of has always done, like, a really big job.
Pig!
It's a big... It's got rabbit ears. Is that, it's like a piggy or something like that. Yeah. But it's one of the cool things that like Tales of has always had. Like Tales of has always had a really good customization system, because while on the gear front, you know, you just have like a weapon slot, an armor piece, and like a trinket. They've always had like fun and kind of crazy costumes and stuff, which has always been awesome, and then loads of really good weapons. So yeah, weapons will definitely change.
You got to explore all of this. That's pretty nice for like the demo. Is this demo going to be playable for like other people? Do you know, or is it? Just
I don't actually know at the moment. No, I mean it's weird. Like the way that it's been created definitely sort of like lends itself to. It looks like a kind of demo that you would download and play on like a console.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know, just like for the time being. But it's definitely got that sort of like typical demo UI where it's like select your character, jump in here, and then when you finish, it's like thank you for playing. So I feel like maybe, but who knows? Yeah. Swim a little bit as well.
A little swimming.
There's a couple of things in this that aren't in this demo, but they will be. It's kind of like an important part of Tales of as well. So one of the things that's like unique to Tales, I mean, it's happened in other RPGs before, but like Tales of is known for it. Is they've got this system called like skits, which is basically outside of cutscenes, characters will just talk with each other. Sometimes, like in other Tales of games, it used to happen specifically post-battle, and then also as you're walking around, and you would have these little sort of like pop-up sections where you would see their faces, and they'd have like funny little interactions. That rock shield looks super cool. yeah, they'd have sort of like funny little interactions, and that is like something that sort of Tales of fans were quite concerned because they hadn't seen it in this. They have confirmed that they are in the game, they're just not in this demo version. They want to sort of reveal them later. They did change the way they've worked though, so like you don't have post-battle skits. Like it used to be, you literally finish a fight, and then every single fight you do, they have a quick conversation. Now it sort of happens.
That sounds long, dude.
I mean, you could always skip them. It was. I'm not saying like you would sit through like a long JRPG style talk, but there's lots of like personal interactions. But they said that now it will be like to more seamlessly respect kind of the, you know, they're trying to like bring it more into modern age. You'll finish a battle, you'll quickly get back into the field, but then those skits will then take place like as you're then walking about afterwards. So you'll kind of get that in a more organic way, which I think is cool.
So out of the two characters that you got to play, is there one in particular that you preferred?
I really like Law. Just
so
because
Law
like,
is the kind of monk dude, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah, he's the martial artist. So in story-wise, he's part of like the sort of like police force, effectively. And he's part of the team on the ground as well, who are like sort of fighting for this stuff. But yeah, because his you know, he attacks with like kicks and punches, but very. I feel like I appreciated juggling with him more. Like you can juggle with any character, even with like Kasado and her like massive shield. But I feel like with him, you know, you dash in, you're punching, you like Shoryuken something in the sky, you suddenly jump up, fly kick them, and then like it all just flows in a very like fluid martial arts style way. Which I just thought was like super cool. And of course then like when you go to like his burst strikes, he's got like flaming dragons around his feet and things. So yeah, I'm also interested to sort of see like who else we encounter, because Tales of Games always had like a decent selection of characters. So you know, we've seen these 6 so far. I'm guessing we probably at least get another couple maybe. Yeah, I want to sort of see what else.
Does this Tales of game like link with the other Tales of games, or is it like separate games like Final Fantasy, where it's like you can just jump into this and this is going to be a completely like new story?
Completely new, yeah. That's a nice thing. Like Tales of Games are always like kind of self-contained. So yeah, 100%. If you've never played one before, don't think, oh, what do I need to go back and play to like understand? Yeah, to my knowledge, I mean, I haven't, you know, just in case anyone wants to kind of correct me in the comments, I haven't played every Tales game, but like to my knowledge, I don't believe. I mean, all the ones that I've played have all been self-contained. Whether there might have been a couple in the past that have linked in some capacity, but no, yeah, completely separate story, completely separate characters. So yeah, you're completely fine just to jump in, like no questions at all.
Yeah. Were there any other like secret mechanics that you found out about this once you were like playing or whatever, like doing combos in a certain way or whatever?
I wouldn't say anything secret like that. I would say like one of the other new mechanics they sort of showed off, and you see it prevalent in this boss battle, is the concept of like weak points. So you can see his glowing like leg on the thing. Like, you know, you don't just like attack anything. You can later on, I think the game will sort of like tell you about it a little bit later. But yeah, you can focus on weak points now, and obviously if you do that, that will kind of stagger the enemy and cause like a break, giving you kind of different. So it's just useful because it's just like, instead of just wailing on the enemy, like before there would be things like, oh, you know, attack the enemy from behind or things like that made sense. But generally speaking, like the new weak point system gives you sort of something else to. You can see it's got like a health bar itself.
Yeah.
So having that is kind of a cool system, definitely.
It's like a little floating health bar on the actual leg. So once you break that weak point, like what actually happens to it? Are they kind of just staggered and docile?
Yeah, the staggered, it kind of goes into like a little sort of down state, and then you can sort of like wail on them for a little bit, which is super handy. But yeah, I think one of those nice things about this is just like the movement. I mean, movement has always been pretty fluid in Tales games anyway, but just like being able to very quickly like reposition, dodging, dashing. I feel like, again, I'm pretty certain like parrying and that kind of quick evasive stuff that you're more used to in action-oriented games. I'm pretty sure that is new for Tales, because like in previous games you would run around and move, but I feel like the way the implementation this time around is very, it's definitely very modern. So I think it will feel like, if you've come from a lot of action-based games, I think you'll actually feel quite at home in this.
Nice. I'm liking seeing this, and I like because he's got like some infernal thing where he puts like a bunch of like fire on the ground. Is that just like a debuff to the area, or is it a buff to him? Okay. Yeah, that's something that's unique to, I believe that's unique to him. I mean, obviously other characters will have their own versions of that, but because he's got like the flaming sword, there's sort of a thing that he can like activate as a result of that. So I imagine like in the past you would have like the caster style characters would do things where they could like, you know, erupt stones out the ground and stuff. So yeah, there's probably other characters that have that, but yeah, for now in the demo, he seems to have that unique sort of trait. So out of like the core breaks and the strike breaks, right? That's what they're called. Is there like
burst strikes? Yeah.
burst strikes? Is there anything that's like akin to like a limit break, where, or is it just that? Do you get like ults in this, like super ults? Because I know that you can get these like, what is it, burst breaks? I forgot what it's called.
Yeah. To my knowledge, at least from what I played in the demo so far, like the burst break is probably the highest tier of that. Like you'll have like your special abilities, which still look pretty hype, which are on the left and like on the left D-pad. You've then kind of got your arts, which are like your basic special moves, which some look more fancy than others. Like, you know, again like in Tales games, like some of the earlier ones, it might just be like, oh, quick juggle, but then some of your later arts in the game will be like there used to be like a progression system for them, and some are like you flying up in the sky and doing some madness.
What is this then?
This is, you know what?
Maybe that's it. Because he just put that out of like nowhere. Let's go back. Let's go back.
Yeah, because you know, in my time playing, I didn't actually get to experience that bit. Was that his D-pad move? I'm trying to remember.
Mystic Arts?
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, you know what? Okay, I apologize. Everyone in the comments will be like, this guy, does he know what he's talking about? I didn't get to experience that myself when I was playing in the boss battle. I clearly didn't like proc that at the time. But yes, okay, so you have Mystic Arts as well, which is like the next tier of... like
that's cool to know.
That'll be your personal special, and then you've got the team special, basically.
Bandai Namco was like, yes, we do have those.
They answered it for us.
They answered it for us, so it's good to know that that's like in there as well. Because I was wondering, it seems like they've got all of this stuff and these like flashy cutscenes, but they didn't have like a character-dependent single like solo focus like ult or whatever. So it's nice to see that, because that's one of the things that I really like about playing like RPGs in general, is just having those over-the-top ultimate moves that you can pop like when you're in a pinch, or you just want to get that extra like burst damage out on them, and they just look fancy and cool every time that you unlock a new one as well, new characters. Are these the only characters that you'll have in the game, or is it there's going to be more across the cast?
I believe, I feel like there'll be at least 2 more. Like I know Tales of Games always had like a decent selection.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to bet there'll be like at least 2 more, but there could be even more than that. So yeah, these are the only ones we've seen so far.
Cool. I want to know from you guys in the comments, like, what is your like favorite like Tales game? If you're looking forward to this and like looking forward to picking this up, what's your favorite like Tales game?
For me, it's still Symphonia, the one on the GameCube back in the day. Like I don't play many games multiple times, but Symphonia, I think I did 3 playthroughs, and this is like a JRPG 3 playthroughs.
Yeah.
But there were like different endings, and like I won't spoil it just in case people want to go back and play it. But yeah, Symphonia was such a cool, like, shout out to Kratos and Lloyd. They were the boys.
Yeah. So yeah, when they come into these chat conversations and this is like voice, this is like kind of just weird to have in an RPG that's in 2021. But I can forgive it and I can overlook it because that's the way that the game is. But hopefully in maybe a future Tales game they can remedy that by making it VO and voice. I feel like it's just
that would be cool.
A little bit extra polish and like nuance and stuff to it. And
Definitely.
plus, some of the times you get like some of the best memes, like Tidus like laughing and stuff out of like those cutscenes and stuff.
That is true. Yeah.
So I think that is the end of the footage. I think the rest of it is just them talking. Hopefully you guys enjoyed us talking through the game, and it's kind of giving you an understanding of like what's going on in Tales of Arise. I think it looks absolutely brilliant, and I'm probably going to be trying this out. I don't know if it's going to be a great game because the story, there are more of the mechanics as you get through the game really need to kind of come in and like shine, but we'll have to see how that kind of goes, essentially.
Definitely.
Yeah. But Alex, is there anything going up on the main channel today?
There is also just my hands-on impressions of playing this this game, and also some more Zelda Breath of the Wild, talking about some more things you might miss in the trailer. So yeah.
Cool. So we'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you want to hear more about every RPG and every game, because we're going to cover so many games on this channel. Definitely make sure that you hit that sub button and tell me what you think of the game. Bye bye.
See you later.